I look up and I can see for 1,000 miles in every direction. I feel as light as a bird. You might be thinking, is he dead? Is he in heaven? No, but it might just be the next best thing on earth. I am in a glider. For those of you unfamiliar, a glider or sailplane is similar to a powered plane you would take to, let's say, Hawaii, except it has no motor. Now, I'm here today to invite you into an experience of being in a glider. Similarly to a powered plane, there are 3 distinct phases of the flight, but with their subtle differences. The first stage is the takeoff. The second is the mid-flight, and the third is the landing. Let's start by taking off. You might be thinking, how can a plane without any motor get into the air? Think of it as tying a rope around the ankle of an angel and holding on as you are pulled towards the heavens. Similarly, a glider has a 200-foot tow rope, typically, attached to the tail of a tow plane. And as they accelerate on the ground down the runway, the glider actually lifts off the ground first due to its higher glide ratio. And it has to wait for the tow plane to be going fast enough to lift off into the air. And then it follows it out on the ascent. There is an important note to make about this, that when following the tow plane out, there's a sweet spot that the glider must remain in. You can think of it as this one. My grandmother makes the most delicious strawberry rhubarb pie. And if I want a piece of that pie, I have to stay on her good side, in her sweet spot. I have to take out the trash, do the dishes, or say words of affirmation. If I start to fall out of that by not getting up in the morning or picking on my sister, well, I won't make it to that piece of pie. Similarly, when the glider is following the tow plane as it ascends, it must remain pretty much directly behind it, because if it gets off too far to one side, the glider is being pulled sideways through the air. And we don't really want to look at what happens next. So after you stay in the sweet spot and you ascend to about 4,000 feet in elevation, you can now reach forward and grab on the tow release handle. Boom! You now enter phase 2 of the flight, the mid-flight, detached from all mechanical power. You are as free as a bird. Now, for those of you paying attention, if you don't have a motor and you needed help getting up, how on earth do you stay up? What is the fun of this if you're just going to come right back down? The fun is almost magical. You look out and you have to find Mother Nature's invisible wings of lift. Each day, as the rays of the sun hits the Earth's surface, different parts of the surface are heated at different rates. This causes pockets of rising air as well as pockets of cooling air. The key is to find these pockets of rising air. And when you do, turn into them and circle up in what we would call a thermal. And thermals typically come from different places on the ground, such as a parking lot. We all know how hot parking lots can get. And they rise up and spiral up and typically form the base of a cloud, but they can drift many miles in the process. So it's kind of a game of fishing. Let me try over here. Eventually, you want to come back down. Unlike a flight that would go from Denver to Hawaii, there is no bathroom on the plane. It's way too small. Now we enter phase 3 of the flight, what some would say the most critical, because you only have one shot. I think of this much as in a man asking a woman for her hand. He really can only ask her once. No amount of begging will change her mind. So as the plane descends, and this is the runway, you only have one chance to ensure that the altitude hits 0 right as you enter the runway. And all is well. This may sound like an impossible task. And it does appear that way when you think of humans as flying. But I assure you that anyone can learn to fly with the right instruction and motivation. And I encourage you all, not just in a glider, but to get off your plateau and fly in your life. Thank you.